February 16th, 1942. 11:47 a.m. somewhere over the Pacific, 100 miles north of Oahu. The engine coughs once, then silence. Lieutenant Harold Dixon feels it before he hears it. That sickening lurch in his gut as the TBD-1 Devastator loses power at 5,000 feet. His hands move on instinct, reaching for the throttle, adjusting the mixture. Nothing. The propeller windmills uselessly in the slipstream. And suddenly the only sound is the wind screaming past the canopy. Behind him, radioman Gene Aldrich tightens his grip on the fuselage frame. In the gunner's seat, Bombardier Tony Pastula cranes his neck forward, trying to see past Dixon's shoulders. Neither man says a word. They don't have to. They're going down. Dixon scans the horizon. Nothing but open water in every direction. The Pacific stretches out like hammered steel under the midday sun, endless and indifferent. No islands, no ships, just blue. He banks the aircraft into a glide, trying to squeeze every second of altitude into distance. The ocean rises to meet them, and Dixon realizes with cold clarity that this isn't a training exercise. There's no instructor in the co-pilot seat. No safety boat waiting below. This is real. And they are alone. Brace! Dixon shouts. The impact is brutal. The nose slams into a wave, and the world explodes into white water and grinding metal. The fuselage shudders, tilts, and for a moment Dixon thinks they're going to cartwheel and sink nose first. But the tail catches, and the aircraft levels out, floating, somehow still intact. Water pours through the seams. The cockpit smells like gasoline and salt. Out! Now! All three men scramble through hatches and onto the wing. The Devastator is already sinking, the nose dipping lower with every passing second. Aldrich pulls the life raft free from its compartment. A small rubber dinghy, barely 6 feet long. They yank the CO2 cartridge, and it hisses to life, inflating in jerky, uneven bursts. Dixon grabs the emergency kit, a small canvas bag stamped with faded Navy markings. Inside, 2 flares, a fishhook, a piece of line, and a few tins of rations. That's it. That's all they have. The wing sinks beneath their feet, and they half swim, half crawl into the raft. The Devastator slips under without ceremony, disappearing into the dark blue like it was never there at all. And then, silence. The 3 men sit in the tiny raft, breathing hard, dripping wet. The sun beats down. The ocean rolls beneath them, slow and rhythmic. No land in sight. No planes overhead. Just water. Endless, empty water. Dixon does the math in his head. They were 100 miles from Oahu when they went down. 100 miles. He thinks about the search radius, the fuel limits of rescue aircraft, the size of the Pacific. He doesn't say it out loud, but the other 2 are thinking it too. No one knows where they are. Aldrich opens his mouth to speak, then stops. He's staring at something in the water. A shadow, moving just beneath the surface. It's long. Too long. Pastula sees it too. The shadow circles once, then vanishes. Dixon tightens his grip on the raft's rope handles. His jaw sets. He's been a pilot for 6 years, survived dozens of carrier landings, flown through storms that should have torn his wings off. But this is different. Out here, the rules are different. And the ocean has just started paying attention. The sun moves. That's the first thing Dixon tracks. West. Always west. And with every degree it drops toward the horizon, the temperature falls with it. By 1600 hours, the initial shock has worn off. Reality sets in. They take inventory. Aldrich empties the emergency kit onto the raft floor. 2 hand flares, 1 fishhook, 12 feet of braided line, a rusted pocket knife, and 4 small tins. Dixon pries one open. Hardtack biscuits and a film of petroleum jelly to keep them dry. He counts them. 8 biscuits per tin. 32 total. He does the math again. 3 men. No idea when rescue will come. 2 biscuits, Dixon says. Each, per day. Pastula stares at the tin. That's it. That's it. The rations go back in the kit. No arguments. They all understand what those numbers mean. But no one wants to say it out loud yet. The raft is a miserable piece of equipment, designed for emergency flotation, not survival. 6 feet long, maybe 4 wide. 3 full-grown men can barely sit without their knees touching. The rubber is already sticky from the sun, and the seams leak just enough to keep an inch of seawater sloshing around their legs at all times. Aldrich tries to bail it out with his hands. It doesn't help. By 1800 hours, the wind picks up. The swells grow, 4 feet, then 6. The raft rides up one side of a wave and drops hard into the trough, slamming their spines against the bottom. Every wave feels like it's going to flip them. Dixon watches the horizon. Still nothing. No smoke trails. No engine sounds. Just the empty sky turning pink, then orange, then deep purple. They'll search tomorrow, Pastula says. He's trying to sound confident, but his voice cracks at the end. Dixon nods. He doesn't believe it. Not really. But hope is a tool, same as the knife or the fishhook. You use what you have. The sun drops below the horizon, and the temperature plummets. None of them were dressed for this. Flight suits, yes, canvas jackets designed for altitude, not immersion. Within an hour, they're shivering. Salt water clings to their skin, evaporating in the wind, pulling heat away from their bodies. Aldrich wraps his arms around his chest and tucks his chin down, but it doesn't help. The cold sinks into the bones. And then the stars come out. Millions of them. More than Dixon has ever seen, even from the cockpit at altitude. The Milky Way stretched across the sky like a river of light. It's beautiful. Achingly, impossibly beautiful. But it also makes him feel small. Out here, under that vast dome of stars, the raft is nothing. A speck. A cork bobbing in an ocean that could swallow 1,000 men and never notice. Pastula is the first to see the fin. There, he whispers, pointing. Dixon follows his gaze. 20 feet off the starboard side, cutting through the water in a slow, lazy arc. A dorsal fin, gray, triangular, maybe 3 feet tall. Then another, and another. They're surrounded. The sharks don't attack. They don't even seem interested. They just circle, gliding through the black water like ghosts. Occasionally one brushes against the raft, and the rubber flexes inward. Aldrich jerks his hand back from the side. Don't move, Dixon says. They sit frozen, barely breathing, watching the fins carve silent paths around them. Minutes pass. Then an hour. The sharks stay. And Dixon realizes something that makes his blood run colder than the water. The sharks aren't hunting. They're waiting. Somewhere in the night. One of the creatures rises just close enough for its back to break the surface. Dixon catches a glimpse of scarred gray skin, an eye like black glass, a mouth that could bite through bone without effort. He thinks about the raft, the thin rubber, the seams that already leak. One bite. That's all it would take. Pastula is shaking now. Not from cold, but from something deeper. Aldrich stares at the water, his jaw clenched so tight Dixon can hear his teeth grinding. They'll leave, Dixon says. His voice is steady, controlled. They'll leave. But even he doesn't sound convinced. The night drags on. The sharks stay. And somewhere in the dark, Dixon starts to understand the shape of what they're facing. This isn't about rescue anymore. This is about endurance. Day 2 begins with fire in their throats. The sun breaks over the horizon at 0630, and within an hour the raft is an oven. The rubber absorbs the heat and radiates it back, turning the small space into a crucible. Dixon's lips are already cracked. Pastula's tongue is swollen, sticking to the roof of his mouth. They haven't had water in 20 hours. Aldrich stares at the ocean. Millions of gallons of water. Right there, inches away. He dips his hand in, brings it to his lips before Dixon can stop him. Don't! Aldrich freezes, salt water dripping from his fingers. You drink that, Dixon says, and you'll be dead in 3 days. Your kidneys will shut down trying to process the salt. You'll hallucinate. You'll go mad. Aldrich lets his hand drop, but his eyes stay on the water, and Dixon sees the thought forming there. The terrible, seductive logic of desperation. Just one sip. Just enough to wet the tongue. Dixon knows that logic. He's felt it himself, and he knows where it leads. By noon, the heat is unbearable. There's no shade, no relief. They take turns lying flat in the raft, trying to minimize their exposure to the sun. But the rubber beneath them is scorching. Blisters form on the backs of their necks. Their skin turns red, then angry pink, then starts to peel. Pastula vomits over the side. Dry heaves that produce nothing but bile. His body is already starting to shut down. Dixon rations out the biscuits. 2 each, as promised. They're so dry they crumble in his hand, sucking what little moisture is left in his mouth. Chewing becomes painful. Swallowing is worse. And still, no planes. The sky remains empty. Blue and vast and utterly silent. Aldrich scans the horizon obsessively, shading his eyes with his hand, looking for smoke trails or glints of metal. Nothing. Dixon watches him, sees the hope draining away with each passing hour. They're not coming, Aldrich finally says. His voice is hoarse, barely a whisper. They're coming, Dixon lies. But even he's starting to doubt. That afternoon, something changes in the water. The sharks have stayed with them, sometimes close, sometimes drifting farther out, but always there, circling, watching. But now they're agitated, moving faster, breaking the surface more often. Pastula sees it first. A shape in the water, maybe 40 feet out. Not a shark. Bigger, moving with slow, deliberate power. What is that? Dixon leans forward, squinting against the glare. The shape rises slightly, and for just a moment he sees it. A massive mottled back, easily 12 feet long. A sea turtle, ancient and enormous, gliding through the depths like a ghost. And then he sees what's following it. A hammerhead, 15 feet long if it's an inch. The bizarre, flattened skull cuts through the water like a scythe, tracking the turtle with cold precision. The other sharks scatter. The hammerhead accelerates. The turtle dives, but not fast enough. The impact sends a shockwave through the water. A thrashing, churning explosion of foam and blood. The hammerhead's body coils and strikes again, jaws sinking into the turtle's flipper. The 3 men watch in horrified silence. It takes 4 minutes for the turtle to stop moving. The hammerhead feeds. Methodically, efficiently, and when it's done, it swims directly toward the raft. Dixon's hand instinctively reaches for the knife. That rusted, useless pocket knife. The hammerhead passes beneath them, close enough that they can see the dead black eyes scanning them. The rows of serrated teeth visible through the water. Then it glides past, uninterested. For now, Aldrich is breathing hard. Jesus Christ. Did you see? I saw. Night falls again, colder than before. The wind picks up, and the waves grow rougher. The raft pitches and rolls, taking on water faster than they can bail. They huddle together for warmth. 3 bodies pressed into a space meant for survival, not comfort. Dixon's mind drifts. He thinks about his wife. His daughter. He wonders if they've been notified yet. Missing in action. That's what the telegram will say. Not dead. Not yet. Just missing. He wonders how long the Navy will search before they give up. Pastula is mumbling. delirious. His eyes are glassy, unfocused. Dehydration is setting in fast. "Hang on," Dixon says. "Just hang on." But even as he says it, he feels the weight of the lie. Because the truth is darker. The truth is that they are alone. The truth is that the ocean doesn't care about their courage, their training, their will to survive. The ocean is patient, and they are running out of time. Day 4. Or is it 5? Time has started to blur. The sun rises and sets, but the hours in between stretch and compress like something elastic, something broken. Dixon tries to keep count by scratching marks into the rubber with the edge of the knife, but his hands shake too badly now. The thirst is unbearable. It's no longer a sensation, it's an entity, a living thing that sits in the center of his chest and radiates outward, consuming everything. His tongue is a dead weight in his mouth. His lips have split so deeply that every breath pulls the cracks wider. Blood mixes with the salt crust on his face. Pastula hasn't spoken in 12 hours. He lies curled at the bottom of the raft, knees pulled to his chest, eyes half open, but not seeing anything. His skin is the color of old leather. When Dixon touches his shoulder, the skin doesn't spring back. It stays dimpled, tented, severe dehydration. Aldrich is worse. He started talking to someone who isn't there. A conversation with his mother, maybe, or his girl back home. He reaches out into empty air, smiling, nodding. Then the smile fades, and his face collapses, and he weeps, dry, soundless sobs that shake his entire body. Dixon tries to bring him back. Jean, listen to me. Stay with me." But Aldrich's eyes slide past him, focusing on something in the distance. Something that isn't there. That morning, Dixon made a decision. He takes the fishhook and the line from the kit. His hands are clumsy, fingers swollen and numb, but he manages to tie the hook onto the line. No bait, nothing to lure a fish except the glint of rusted metal. He drops it over the side and waits. An hour passes. Then 2. The sun climbs higher, hotter. The line hangs slack in the water. Nothing. But then a tug. Small at first. Tentative. Then harder. Dixon's heart hammers. He pulls hand over hand, and something fights back. The line cuts into his palms, but he doesn't care. He hauls it up, straining, and suddenly there it is, a fish. Small, maybe 8 inches long, silver scales flashing in the sunlight. He grabs it bare-handed. It thrashes, slippery and desperate, but Dixon holds on. He brings it into the raft and slams it against the rubber floor until it stops moving. Aldrich and Pastula stare at it like it's a hallucination. Dixon uses the knife. The blade is dull, but it's enough. He guts the fish, pulls out the entrails, and squeezes the flesh. A few drops of liquid. Not water, but something close. He brings it to Pastula's lips. Drink. Pastula's throat works. He swallows. His eyes focus. Just for a moment. Dixon divides the rest. They suck the moisture from the flesh, chew the raw meat, and swallow the organs. It tastes like brine and copper, but it's sustenance. It's life. For the first time in days, Dixon allows himself a flicker of hope. Maybe they can do this. That night, the storm hits. It comes out of nowhere. A wall of black clouds racing across the horizon, swallowing the stars. The wind shifts, and suddenly the swells are 8 feet tall, then 10. The raft climbs a wave and drops into the trough with bone-jarring force. Rain follows, torrential, violent rain. Dixon tilts his head back and opens his mouth. The water is fresh, pure, cold, beautiful. He drinks and drinks, gasping between mouthfuls. Beside him, Aldrich does the same, laughing hysterically, tears and rain mixing on his face. But the storm doesn't care about their gratitude. A wave hits them broadside, and the raft flips. Dixon goes under, tumbling in the churning darkness. He doesn't know which way is up. His lungs scream. His hands claw at nothing. And then his head breaks the surface, and he gasps, choking on seawater and rain. "Gene! Tony!" He spins in the water, searching. The raft is upside down, 10 feet away. A shape clings to it, Aldrich coughing, spitting water. But where's? Help! Pastula! Farther out. Struggling. Going under. Dixon swims. His body is weak and starved, but adrenaline overrides everything. He reaches Pastula just as the bombardier's head dips below the surface. Dixon grabs him by the collar, hauls him up, and kicks toward the raft. The three of them cling to the overturned rubber, gasping, shivering. The waves keep coming, slamming into them, trying to tear them apart. But they hold on. Dixon reaches under the raft and finds the rope handles. On 3 we flip it. They heave. The raft is full of water, impossibly heavy. But desperation has a strength all its own. They pull, strain, scream into the wind, and the raft flips upright. They drag themselves in, collapsing in the shallow pool of seawater at the bottom. The storm rages for another hour, but they're alive. When the rain finally stops and the clouds break apart, Dixon lies on his back, staring at the stars. His body is broken. His mind is fraying at the edges. But something has changed. He's stopped waiting for rescue. Now he's fighting. Day 7. Dixon wakes to find a gull perched on the edge of the raft. It's small, gray and white, with black-tipped wings. It tilts its head, studying him with one glassy eye. Curious, unafraid. Dixon doesn't move, doesn't breathe. His hand inches toward the knife. The bird shifts its weight, preening a wing feather. Still oblivious, Dixon's fingers close around the handle. Every muscle in his body coils. The bird looks up, and Dixon lunges. His hand closes around feathers and bone. The gull shrieks, wings beating frantically against his face, beak stabbing at his fingers. But Dixon holds on. He twists hard and feels something snap. The bird goes limp. Aldrich and Pastula stare at him, wide-eyed. Dixon is breathing hard, blood trickling from a dozen small cuts on his hands. He looks down at the dead gull, and then he gets to work. The knife makes quick work of it. Feathers come away in clumps. Skin peels back to reveal dark red meat. He cuts the breast free, divides it into 3 portions. They eat in silence, tearing at the raw flesh with their teeth. It's the best meal they've had in a week. But it's not enough. It will never be enough. That afternoon, Dixon sets the line again. This time, he uses a piece of the gull's entrails as bait. The hook disappears into the blue, and he waits. An hour passes, then another. The sun beats down mercilessly. Pastula lies in the bottom of the raft, lips moving in silent prayer. Aldrich stares at nothing, his face blank. Then the line goes taut. Dixon grabs it with both hands. Whatever's on the other end is strong, much stronger than the last fish. The line burns through his palms as it runs out. He braces his feet against the side of the raft and pulls. The line angles down, cutting through the water. Something big circles beneath them. "Help me!" Aldrich snaps out of his daze. He grabs the line behind Dixon, and together they haul. Hand over hand. The muscles in Dixon's arms scream. His vision tunnels, and then it breaks the surface. A mahi-mahi, 3 feet long, brilliant green and gold, thrashing wildly. Its body arcs in the sunlight, spraying water across the raft. They pull it in, and the fight becomes chaos. The fish is all muscle and fury, slamming against the rubber, snapping the line with its tail. Dixon throws himself on top of it, pinning it down. The knife comes up, then down, again and again, until the thrashing stops. Blood pools in the bottom of the raft. Dark red, almost black. Dixon sits back, chest heaving. The fish lies still. They butcher it immediately. Dixon cuts away the fillets, hands them to Aldrich and Pastula. They eat like animals, tearing, chewing, swallowing. The flesh is firm and sweet. The blood is salty but wet, and they drink it greedily. For the first time in days, their stomachs feel full. But Dixon doesn't stop. He can't, because he understands now. This is the pattern. Catch, eat, survive, repeat. There is no rescue coming. There is only this. The endless blue. The sun. The knife. He cuts the remaining meat into strips and lays them across the side of the raft to dry in the sun. Makeshift jerky. Provisions. Pastula watches him, something like clarity returning to his eyes. "You think we're gonna make it?" he asks. His voice is a rasp. Dixon doesn't answer right away. He looks out at the horizon, that line where the ocean meets the sky, impossibly far and yet always just out of reach. "I think we don't have a choice," he says finally. That night, the sharks return. They've been scarce since the storm, but now they're back, drawn by the blood from the mahi-mahi. Dozens of them. The water around the raft churns with gray bodies, fins cutting the surface in tight, aggressive circles. One bumps the raft hard enough to knock Aldrich sideways. He scrambles back to the center, eyes wide with terror. "They're going to tip us," he whispers. Dixon grabs the oar, a flimsy piece of wood barely 2 feet long. He waits. Another shark rises, jaws opening, and Dixon brings the oar down hard across its snout. The shark veers away, but another takes its place. "Hit them!" Dixon shouts. "Don't let them under the raft." Aldrich and Pastula grab anything they can. The empty ration tin, the bailing bucket. They strike at the water, at the shadows beneath, at anything that gets too close. The sharks circle, probe, test, but they don't attack. After an hour, they drift away, disappearing into the darkness. The 3 men collapse, exhausted, adrenaline draining away. Dixon stares into the black water. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from something else, something harder. Rape. He's sick of being prey, sick of waiting, sick of the ocean thinking it can break him. He picks up a piece of the dried fish and bites into it. The meat is tough, salty, but it's sustenance. It's defiance. He thinks about the charts he memorized in flight school. The currents, the trade winds. They've been drifting west, he's sure of it. And if they're drifting west, there are islands out there, somewhere. He doesn't know how far, doesn't know if they'll live long enough to reach them. But he knows this. He's done waiting for rescue. If they're going to survive, they'll have to do it themselves. Day 11. Aldrich sees the ship first. "There!" he screams, pointing at the horizon. "There! Do you see it?" Dixon looks. There's nothing, just the endless blue, the same as yesterday, the same as the day before. "Jean, there's nothing. It's right there." Aldrich is standing now, rocking the raft. "It's a destroyer. They're coming for us." He waves both arms over his head, shouting, laughing. Pastula sits up, squinting at the horizon, desperate to see what Aldrich sees. But there's nothing there. Dixon grabs Aldrich's arm, tries to pull him down. "Jean, sit down. There's no ship." Aldrich shoves him off. "You're blind. It's right." His foot catches the edge of the raft. He stumbles backward, arms windmilling, and goes over the side. The splash sends a jolt of terror through Dixon's chest. He lunges for the rope, throws it toward Aldrich. "Grab it!" But Aldrich isn't trying to grab it. He's swimming, away from the raft, toward the phantom ship only he can see. "Jean, stop!" Aldrich keeps swimming, his strokes wild and uncoordinated. He's 50 feet out now, then 70, and then Dixon sees the fin. It cuts through the water behind Aldrich, smooth, deliberate, closing the distance. Another appears on the left. Then another. Gene shocks. Aldrich doesn't hear him, or doesn't care. He's still swimming, still reaching for rescue that isn't coming. Dixon doesn't think. He grabs the oar and dives into the water. The ocean swallows him, cold and vast. He kicks hard, arms pulling, closing the gap. His lungs burn. His vision blurs. But he keeps swimming. He reaches Aldrich just as the first shark makes its pass, a gray blur streaking beneath them. Dixon grabs Aldrich around the chest and drags him backward. Aldrich fights him, screaming incoherently, but Dixon holds on. Pastula! The rope! The line snakes through the water. Dixon catches it with one hand, loops it around Aldrich's chest, and kicks toward the raft. The sharks circle closer, their movements tighter, more aggressive. Pastula pulls. Dixon pushes. Together they haul Aldrich back onto the raft. He collapses in the bottom, sobbing, still reaching toward the empty horizon. Dixon hangs onto the side, gasping. His heart is trying to break through his ribs. He looks down into the water and sees them. Half a dozen sharks gliding beneath the raft, their eyes black and empty. He hauls himself in and lies flat, shaking. That night, Aldrich doesn't speak. He stares at his hands, turning them over and over, as if trying to figure out what they are. The sun has destroyed them. Their skin is no longer just burned. It's shredded. Layers have peeled away to reveal raw, weeping flesh beneath. Salt crusts in the wounds. Infections bloom in angry red patches. Pastula's face is so swollen his eyes are nearly shut. Dixon knows they're dying, slowly, cell by cell. But he also knows something else. The human body is more resilient than anyone gives it credit for. It can endure the unendurable. It can survive past the point where survival seems impossible. You just have to be more stubborn than death. Day 13. A rainstorm comes, brief, violent, merciful. They open their mouths and drink until their stomachs cramp. Dixon spreads the canvas bag to catch as much water as possible, then rings it into the empty ration tins. They manage to save maybe a pint. Maybe. It won't last long. But it's something. That afternoon, Dixon catches another fish. Smaller this time. They eat it raw, as always, sucking the moisture from the flesh before chewing the meat. Pastula gags, nearly vomits, but forces it down. His body needs the protein, the fat, the liquid. Need overrides disgust. That evening, as the sun sets, Dixon notices something strange. The color of the water has changed. It's no longer the deep, open ocean blue. It's lighter, greener, and there are birds, not just the occasional gull, but dozens of them, wheeling and diving in the distance. Land, Dixon whispers. Aldrich lifts his head. What? The water. The birds. We're near land. It's not close. Dixon knows that. Could be 50 miles. Could be 100. But the signs are there. The current has carried them west, just as he suspected. Somewhere ahead, there are islands. The question is whether they'll reach them before their bodies give out. That night, Dixon dreams. He's back in the cockpit of the Devastator, flying low over the ocean. The engine hums smoothly. The gauges all read normal. Below him, the water is calm, reflecting the sky like polished glass. And then the engine cuts out. He wakes with a start, heart hammering. The raft rocks gently beneath him. Pastula and Aldrich are asleep, curled together for warmth. Dixon sits up and looks at the stars. He finds the North Star, calculates their position as best he can. They've drifted hundreds of miles, maybe more. He thinks about his wife again, his daughter. He wonders if they've held a memorial service yet. Probably. It's been 2 weeks. The Navy doesn't wait forever. But he's not dead. Not yet. He picks up the knife, feels the weight of it in his hand. It's become an extension of him now. The blade worn smooth from use, the handle shaped to his grip. He looks out at the dark water. "Not yet," he says aloud. And the ocean, as always, doesn't answer. Day 7. Dixon wakes to find a gull perched on the edge of the raft. It's small, gray and white, with black-tipped wings. It tilts its head, studying him with one glassy eye. Curious, unafraid. Dixon doesn't move, doesn't breathe. His hand inches toward the knife. The bird shifts its weight, preening a wing feather. Still oblivious, Dixon's fingers close around the handle. Every muscle in his body coils. The bird looks up, and Dixon lunges. His hand closes around feathers and bone. The gull shrieks, wings beating frantically against his face, beak stabbing at his fingers. But Dixon holds on. He twists hard, and feels something snap. The bird goes limp. Aldrich and Pastula stare at him, wide-eyed. Dixon is breathing hard, blood trickling from a dozen small cuts on his hands. He looks down at the dead gull, and then he gets to work. The knife makes quick work of it. Feathers come away in clumps. Skin peels back to reveal dark red meat. He cuts the breast free, divides it into 3 portions. They eat in silence, tearing at the raw flesh with their teeth. It's the best meal they've had in a week. But it's not enough. It will never be enough. That afternoon, Dixon sets the line again. This time, he uses a piece of the gull's entrails as bait. The hook disappears into the blue, and he waits. An hour passes, then another. The sun beats down mercilessly. Pastula lies in the bottom of the raft, lips moving in silent prayer. Aldrich stares at nothing, his face blank. Then the line goes taut. Dixon grabs it with both hands. Whatever's on the other end is strong, much stronger than the last fish. The line burns through his palms as it runs out. He braces his feet against the side of the raft and pulls. The line angles down, cutting through the water. Something big circles beneath them. "Help me!" Aldrich snaps out of his daze. He grabs the line behind Dixon, and together they haul. Hand over hand. The muscles in Dixon's arms scream. His vision tunnels, and then it breaks the surface. A mahi-mahi, 3 feet long, brilliant green and gold, thrashing wildly. Its body arcs in the sunlight, spraying water across the raft. They pull it in, and the fight becomes chaos. The fish is all muscle and fury, slamming against the rubber, snapping the line with its tail. Dixon throws himself on top of it, pinning it down. The knife comes up, then down, again and again, until the thrashing stops. Blood pools in the bottom of the raft. Dark red, almost black. Dixon sits back, chest heaving. The fish lies still. They butcher it immediately. Dixon cuts away the fillets, hands them to Aldrich and Pastula. They eat like animals, tearing, chewing, swallowing. The flesh is firm and sweet. The blood is salty but wet, and they drink it greedily. For the first time in days, their stomachs feel full. But Dixon doesn't stop. He can't, because he understands now. This is the pattern. Catch, eat, survive, repeat. There is no rescue coming. There is only this. The endless blue. The sun. The knife. He cuts the remaining meat into strips and lays them across the side of the raft to dry in the sun. Makeshift jerky. Provisions. Pastula watches him, something like clarity returning to his eyes. "You think we're gonna make it?" he asks. His voice is a rasp. Dixon doesn't answer right away. He looks out at the horizon, that line where the ocean meets the sky, impossibly far and yet always just out of reach. "I think we don't have a choice," he says finally. That night, the sharks return. They've been scarce since the storm, but now they're back, drawn by the blood from the mahi-mahi. Dozens of them. The water around the raft churns with gray bodies, fins cutting the surface in tight, aggressive circles. One bumps the raft hard enough to knock Aldrich sideways. He scrambles back to the center, eyes wide with terror. "They're going to tip us," he whispers. Dixon grabs the oar, a flimsy piece of wood barely 2 feet long. He waits. Another shark rises, jaws opening, and Dixon brings the oar down hard across its snout. The shark veers away, but another takes its place. "Hit them!" Dixon shouts. "Don't let them under the raft." Aldrich and Pastula grab anything they can. The empty ration tin, the bailing bucket. They strike at the water, at the shadows beneath, at anything that gets too close. The sharks circle, probe, test, but they don't attack. After an hour, they drift away, disappearing into the darkness. The 3 men collapse, exhausted, adrenaline draining away. Dixon stares into the black water. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from something else, something harder. Rate. He's sick of being prey, sick of waiting, sick of the ocean thinking it can break him. He picks up a piece of the dried fish and bites into it. The meat is tough, salty, but it's sustenance. It's defiance. He thinks about the charts he memorized in flight school. The currents, the trade winds. They've been drifting west, he's sure of it. And if they're drifting west, there are islands out there, somewhere. He doesn't know how far, doesn't know if they'll live long enough to reach them. But he knows this. He's done waiting for rescue. If they're going to survive, they'll have to do it themselves. Day 23. The island is 5 days behind them. It might as well be 500 miles. The ocean has reclaimed them. The brief taste of solid ground, of coconut water and turtle meat, now feels like a hallucination. The raft is their world again. 6 feet of rubber. 3 bodies that no longer look human. Pastula hasn't eaten in 2 days. His body is shutting down. He lies curled at the bottom of the raft, knees pulled to his chest, eyes open but seeing nothing. When Dixon tries to give him water, it dribbles from his lips. "Tony, you have to drink." Nothing. Not even a flicker of recognition. Aldrich is worse. The fever has returned with a vengeance. His skin is hot to the touch, but he shivers constantly. The infections in his legs have turned his flesh black in places. The smell is unmistakable. Rot decay, the sweet stink of tissue dying while the body still lives. Dixon knows what that smell means. He's seen gangrene before, on ships returning from the Pacific. Men who waited too long to treat wounds, who thought they could tough it out. They always lost the limb. Sometimes they lost more. "Gene," Dixon says quietly, "let me see your leg." Aldrich turns his head away. "It's fine." "It's not fine. I said it's fine." Dixon doesn't push. There's no point. Even if it is gangrene, what can he do? They have no antibiotics, no surgical tools, nothing but a dull knife and seawater. That afternoon, Dixon catches a small triggerfish. He guts it, squeezes the fluid from its organs into Pastula's mouth. Some of it goes down. Most of it doesn't. He divides the meat between himself and Aldrich. They chew in silence. The sun is different now. Hotter. More direct. Dixon realizes they've drifted farther south, closer to the equator. The UV radiation is intense, cooking them from the outside in. His vision has started to blur at the edges, cataracts forming from sun exposure. He wonders if they'll go blind before they die. That night, Aldrich starts talking again. Not to Dixon, not to Pastula, to someone else. "I know, Mom," he says, nodding. "I know I should have written more. I'm sorry." He pauses, listening to a voice that isn't there. "No, we're doing okay. The lieutenant's taking good care of us. We'll be home soon." He smiles. It's the saddest thing Dixon has ever seen. Dixon doesn't try to pull him back. What's the point? If Aldrich wants to spend his last days talking to ghosts, who is Dixon to take that away from him? But then Aldrich says something that makes Dixon's blood run cold. "Yeah, I'll tell him," Aldrich says to the empty air. Then he turns to Dixon. "My mom says you should let go. She says it's okay. She says we did our best." Dixon stares at him. "Gene, she's right, you know." Aldrich's voice is calm, rational. "We did our best. We survived longer than anyone thought we could. But it's over now. We can stop fighting." "No! Look at us, Harold. Look at Tony. He's already gone. I'm going. And you," Aldrich reaches out, touches Dixon's face with a trembling hand. "You're killing yourself trying to save us. But you can't. No one can." Dixon knocks his hand away. "We're not done." "Yes, we are." The words hang in the air between them, and Dixon realizes with terrible clarity that Aldrich has already made his choice. He's already started the process of letting go. Dixon has seen it before. In training, in combat, the moment when a man decides he's done. The light goes out behind the eyes, and the body just stops. "Don't you dare," Dixon says. His voice is raw. "Don't you dare give up on me." Aldrich just smiles. Then he lies down and closes his eyes. Day 25. Pastula dies at 0400 hours. Dixon doesn't know exactly when it happens. One moment the bombardier is breathing, shallow, ragged breaths that barely move his chest. The next moment, nothing. Dixon checks for a pulse. Nothing. He sits back, staring at Pastula's face. The young man looks peaceful, almost serene, like he's finally sleeping after weeks of agony. Dixon wants to feel something. Grief, anger, anything. But all he feels is tired. When the sun rises, Dixon and Aldrich wrap Pastula's body in the remains of his flight suit. They don't have weights, so the body will float for a while. But eventually, the ocean will take him. They lower him over the side. Pastula's body slips beneath the surface, suspended in that strange blue-green light, and then sinks slowly into the depths. Aldrich says a prayer. Dixon doesn't. He just watches until Pastula disappears. Then there too, Aldrich dies on day 28. Dixon wakes to find him cold. The fever broke sometime during the night. Broke permanently. His face is gray, sunken. His eyes are half open, staring at nothing. Dixon closes them. He should feel something, should say something, but the words won't come. His mind is a desert, empty, scoured clean by sun and salt and suffering. He wraps Aldrich in the canvas bag and lowers him into the water. No prayer this time, just silence. And then Dixon is alone. He sits in the raft, staring at his hands. They don't look like hands anymore. They look like claws. The skin is cracked and blackened, the nails split and bleeding. He wonders how much longer. Hours? Days? He wonders if it matters. The sun climbs higher. The heat presses down. And Dixon realizes something that almost makes him laugh. He's not afraid. He thought he would be. Thought that when death finally came, he'd rage against it, fight it, beg for more time. But he's just tired. So tired. He lies down in the raft and closes his eyes. The ocean rocks him. Gentle. Almost kind. And Harold Dixon lets go. But he doesn't die. His eyes open. The sun is directly overhead, noon, maybe later. His mouth tastes like copper and ash. His body is a distant thing, barely connected to his mind. But he's alive. Dixon sits up slowly. Every joint protests. Every muscle trembles. But they still work. He looks around the raft. Empty. Just him now. The oar. The knife. The few coconuts they salvaged from the island, now desiccated and useless. He should be dead. By every measure, dehydration, starvation, exposure, He should have followed Aldrich and Pastula into the dark. But he hasn't. And somewhere in the shattered wreckage of his mind, something sparks. Not hope. Nothing as grand as that. Just refusal. A stubborn, animal refusal to stop breathing. He picks up the fishing line. His hands shake so badly it takes 3 tries to thread the hook. He uses the last piece of dried turtle meat as bait and drops it over the side. The line drifts in the current. Minutes pass. An hour. The sun hammers down. Then, a strike. Dixon pulls. The fish fights, but weakly. He hauls it in. A small needlefish, maybe 10 inches long. He kills it with his hands, guts it with a knife, and eats it raw. The flesh is tough and bitter. He doesn't care. He catches another that evening, and another the next morning. He's not surviving. He's just not dying yet. There's a difference. Day 30. The hallucinations start. Dixon sees ships that aren't there. Islands that vanish when he blinks. He hears voices. Aldrich, Pastula, his wife, his daughter. They call to him from just beyond the edge of the raft, beckoning. He ignores them. He knows what's real. The raft. The ocean. The sun. Everything else is just his brain misfiring, trying to make sense of the senseless. But then he sees something different. A bird. Not a gull. Something larger. Dark wings, white belly. It circles overhead, riding a thermal, then heads west. Land birds don't go far from shore. Dixon's heart, that stubborn, broken muscle, kicks harder. He picks up the oar and paddles. 1 stroke. Then another. His arms are skeletal, wasted to bone and tendon. But they move. West. Follow the bird. He paddles until his vision tunnels. Until his hands can't grip anymore. Then he rests. And when he can, he paddles again. That night, he dreams he's already dead. That this is purgatory. Endless ocean, endless sun, endless struggle. He dreams that Aldrich and Pastula are waiting for him somewhere beyond the horizon. And all he has to do is stop fighting. It would be so easy. Just stop. When he wakes, the sun is rising. And there, in the distance, so faint he thinks it must be another hallucination, is a smudge of green. Land. Dixon blinks. The smudge stays. He grabs the oar. Paddles. The current is against him now, pushing him north, but he fights it. Stroke after stroke. The green grows. Takes shape. Palm trees. Hills. An island. A real island. Not an atoll. Something with elevation. With vegetation. With people. He paddles until the raft scrapes coral. Then he rolls over the side into the shallows. His legs don't work. He crawls. Hands and knees. Up the beach. Through the surf. Onto the sand. Solid ground. He collapses face first and lies there, breathing. Just breathing. Voices. Footsteps running. Hands on his shoulders, turning him over. Faces. Dark-skinned. Concerned. Speaking a language he doesn't understand. Dixon tries to speak. His throat won't work. He tries again. American, he croaks. U.S. Navy. The faces confer. One man runs off, shouting. Others bring water. Coconut milk. They tilt his head back and pour it into his mouth, slowly, carefully. Dixon drinks, and then the world goes black. Section 10. The Return. He wakes in a hut. Thatched roof. Woven walls. Sunlight filtering through gaps in the palm fronds. The air smells like smoke and cooking fish. A woman sits nearby, grinding something in a wooden bowl. She sees him stir and calls out. A man appears, older, gray-haired, wearing shorts and a faded shirt. "You are awake," the man says in heavily accented English. "Good. We thought maybe you die." Dixon tries to sit up. His body screams in protest. "Easy," the man says, pressing him back down. "You very sick." Very weak. You rest. Where? Dixon's voice is a ruined thing. Where am I? Puka Puka. In the Cook Islands. You drift very far, American. Puka. Dixon's mind struggles to place it. The Cook Islands. Hundreds of miles west of where they went down. They drifted over 1,000 miles. 34 days. My crew, Dixon says. 2 men. Did you find? The man shakes his head slowly. Only you. Dixon closes his eyes. He already knew, but hearing it spoken aloud makes it real. Aldrich. Pastula. God. The next days are a blur. The islanders nurse him back from the edge. They feed him poi and fish broth and coconut water. They treat his infections with poultices made from local plants. They cover his burns with cool mud. Slowly, impossibly slowly, Dixon's body begins to heal. He learns that Puka Puka is remote. There's no radio, no regular contact with the outside world. A supply boat comes maybe once every few months. The islanders have no way to contact the U.S. military. Dixon is trapped again. But this time, there's food, water, shelter. He can wait. 2 weeks later, an island trader arrives. A small schooner bringing supplies. The captain is a New Zealander named Morrison, weather-beaten and skeptical. American pilot? Morrison says, looking Dixon up and down. Went down over a month ago? That's quite a story, mate. It's the truth. Morrison studies him, takes in the skeletal frame, the scarred skin, the eyes that have seen too much. All right, he says finally. I'm headed to Samoa. I'll get you to someone who can get you home. The journey takes 6 days. Dixon spends most of it below deck, regaining his strength. When they reach Samoa, Morrison takes him straight to the U.S. Naval Station. The duty officer stares at him like he's seeing a ghost. Lieutenant Harold Dixon? Yes, sir. You're dead. You were declared killed in action 3 weeks ago. Dixon almost smiles. Not quite, sir. The debrief takes hours. Dixon tells them everything. The crash, the drift, the fish, the storms, the sharks, the island, the deaths of Aldrich and Pastula. He leaves nothing out. The officers take notes, ask questions, look at him with expressions that range from disbelief to awe. When it's over, the commanding officer stands and extends his hand. Lieutenant, what you did out there, what you survived, I don't have words for it. Dixon shakes his hand. I just didn't quit, sir. That's all. But it wasn't all. And Dixon knows it. He thinks about Aldrich, talking to ghosts in those final days. About Pastula's peaceful face when the struggle finally ended. About the moment he himself decided to let go. And then, for reasons he still doesn't understand, decided not to. Survival isn't about strength. It isn't about training or skill or courage. It's about the moment when every rational part of your brain tells you to stop, and you keep going anyway. It's about refusing to accept the ocean's verdict. 3 months later, Dixon stands on the deck of a transport ship approaching San Francisco Bay. The Golden Gate Bridge rises through the fog. Solid, real, home. He's gained back some weight. The burns have healed to scars. The infections are gone. But his eyes are different now. They've seen things that can't be unseen. The ship docks. He walks down the gangplank. And there, waiting at the bottom, is his wife. She runs to him. He catches her. And for the first time in 4 months, Harold Dixon allows himself to feel something other than the need to survive. He holds her and thinks about the men who didn't make it home. About Gene Aldrich and Tony Pastula, somewhere beneath the Pacific, at peace. He survived. They didn't. And he'll carry that weight for the rest of his life. But he's alive. And sometimes, that has to be enough.